Hey guys, Movie Junkie for Life here again, and this is going to be my review of Dunkirk, written and directed by Christopher Nolan and starring Fionn, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Fionn Whitehead, or Whitehead, Kenneth Braga, Tom Hardy, and a slew of familiar and not so familiar faces. Dunkirk tells the story of the Allied forces during World War II, made up mostly of Belgium, French and British soldiers, and they've been surrounded by German forces and pushed back to Dunkirk, and they are trying to evacuate safely, and the Germans are making that very difficult and picking them off, not one by one but in droves. So Dunkirk. Now, war movies are not really my forte. It's not a genre that I really seek out when I'm watching films. But I wanted to see this basically because it was written and directed by Christopher Nolan, and we've seen his work. We know what he's capable of. I'm a fan of his work, and of course, you know, I wanted to see Dunkirk because he was the man behind the lens. I knew that even if it was a war movie and I wasn't going to really get into that aspect of it, I love what he can do visually, and I knew that visually I would enjoy this movie. But color me surprised, I enjoyed this movie for a slew of other reasons as well. Now, Dunkirk, like I said, visually, it's an amazing movie to behold. If you can see this movie at IMAX, I highly recommend it. The shots in this movie, from the opening shots where the propaganda flyers are falling on this handful of soldiers, and that's another thing. This movie, there is not that much dialogue. This movie is all about what you're experiencing with these soldiers. It doesn't need that much dialogue, but we'll get into that. From that opening shot of those flyers falling on that empty town with those soldiers trying to find some water and some shelter, to the beach and Germans just flying overhead and bombing these soldiers. There's so many shots in this movie that are it's just Nolan at his best. For me, one of the most impactful shots being, there's a shot where all the soldiers are standing on the pier waiting for the ship to come in, and they hear that plane overhead and they know what that means. They know that he's going to just start firing on them, and they all start ducking down, and it's like thousands of soldiers. Oh my god, things like that. It just had the hairs on the back of my neck raising. And as this movie goes along, those visuals just keep pulling on you and amping up your levels of fear for these soldiers as you begin to connect with them. And like I said, there's not much dialogue in this movie, which surprised me. You know, war movies tend to have a lot of people, a lot of loud emotional music, people talking about how they feel in that moment. This movie is very much the audience experience, because we are surviving Dunkirk with these soldiers. There's not that much that needs to be said because everything is shown to you and you're feeling it. You're feeling that fear. They can basically see home because of where Dunkirk is located, as opposed to where the safety of Britain is at that time. Imagine that feeling of you can die at any moment and all you want to do is get home, and home is right there, and no matter what you do, time and time again, your boats are being sunk, the Germans are attacking, and you just can't seem to get there. And that is something that really surprised me with this movie, because this movie is not so much a war movie as opposed to a film about surviving and the nobility and strength of surviving. This is something you don't really see in a lot of war films, because a lot of movies focus on the battle itself, and you know, this is the bad guy and we're the good guys and we won out even though we lost a bunch of people. This isn't that story. These actors, they picked a lot of young people that you may not necessarily recognize them, and we're connecting with them because you're not really seeing these big A-list actor faces. Even though Tom Hardy is in this movie, I think it's brilliant that he's playing a pilot. So his face is so covered, you know, he has the goggles and the helmet on and that sort of thing. So you're not really seeing him. So you can also disconnect from the fact that it's Tom Hardy, and he has some beautiful moments in this movie as well in terms of what his character does. But like I said, it's all about the battle for survival, for making it home, and how that in itself is an accomplishment for a soldier, making it home, holding it together. And there are also moments where they show you where good men can make bad decisions or make difficult, somewhat evil choices to survive, and it doesn't make them less of a good person, because we all want to survive, you know. So this movie is a very different war movie. It's not, there's no exposition and all that sorts of thing. We don't need that here. Everything is shown to you, and you, the audience member, are experiencing everything through those visual moments, through those shots. So Dunkirk, you have to experience it for yourself. And if it's the one thing about this movie, I might say that it's not a movie that's gonna connect with everybody. I remember I watched it in cinema. The audience I watched it was so quiet during and when this movie was over, and I heard some people while I was in the bathroom, I heard some people saying that they were trying to figure out what this movie was about and how they felt about it. And that's a good thing when a movie does that to you. But you know, a lot of people may come out of this movie feeling like, well, what exactly was that? Because like I said, it's not about focusing on any one character here. This is a movie about the survival of these soldiers, about everybody's journey, about the small moments that make you a hero. Because there are civilians in this movie as well who do very heroic things, you know, and they deal with their losses as well. There's a lot of that going on, and for me, like I said, the visual moments, those epic scenes of, like, there's a moment, I don't want to spoil anything, but Tom Hardy in his plane at the end of the movie, there's a moment with him that is just so impactful when you think about what must have come after. Just scene after scene, moment after moment, that affects you on a level without anybody blasting you with music telling you how you should feel, without any heavy dialogue telling you how you should feel. It's all about the visual experience. That's what Nolan pulls off here, and he pulls it off so damn good. So I'm gonna give Dunkirk an 8.5 out of 10. I think this is one of those movies you have to see again, maybe see it again and just try to take in everything that's happening from moment to moment. The movie is shot in a way that the timelines, it's not one timeline, so to speak. Again, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but this is definitely one of those movies that will leave you talking after you've left the cinema. And I know for some people it may seem a bit hollow, but I would hope that people look at this film as something different. It's not your typical war film, and they will see visually what this movie has been able to pull off. This movie tells a wonderful story without actually saying a word. So I'm giving Dunkirk an 8.5 out of 10. And that's going to be it for me, guys. So till next time, bye bye.